Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from group 13. Today we're gonna explain about blended learning. So, blended learning in term is divided with two syllabus, blended and learning. For the blended is a combination or mixture, a good combination, while learning is learning. According to Harding, Kaczynski, and Wood, 2005, blended learning is learning approach that integrate traditional face-to-face learning and distance learning using online learning resource and variety of communication options that can be used by teacher and student. Blended learning can interpreted as a learning process that utilizes a variety approach. The approach taken can utilize various types of media and technology. In simple terms, it can be said that blended learning is learning that combines face-to-face conventional learning, where between educator and student interact directly with each other, can exchange information about learning material, or independent learning, learning with various modules, which has been provided, as well as independent study is online study. So this is there are some elements about blended learning. The learning element based on the blended learning combine face-to-face and e-learning, which have 6 elements. That's face-to-face, independent learning, application, tutorial, collaboration, evaluation. Face-to-face learning is done as was done before the invention of print, audiovisual, and computer technology. Educators as a main learning resource. Classification of blended learning. Blended learning classification. To understand e-learning, some experts can classify based on characteristics. In general, e-learning or online learning is asynchronous, where educator or teacher or lecturer or instructor and people who study as a student do not meet at the same time. Rangatan, Nagas, and Wilcox, 2007, divide 4 types of learning classification. There is first, e-learning without presence and without communication. 2, learning without presence but with communication. 3, learning combined with occasional attendance. 4, e-learning is used as a tool teaching in the classroom. So this is for the next is talking about the characteristic of blended learning. First, characteristic of blended learning. There are several characteristics on the blended learning. There are learning that combine various ways of delivery, learning model, learning style, as well as variety of media-based technology that differs. B. As a combination of direct learning, face-to-face, independent learning, and independent learning via online. C. Learning supported by an effective combination of way of delivery, way of teaching, and learning styles. D. Teachers and parents are learning participants have the same important role, teachers as facilitator and parent as supporter. Okay, I think that's all from me. The next material will be explained by my friends.
Number 2, purpose of blended learning. For the blended learning has objective including A. Helping students to develop better in the learning process according to learning styles and preferences in learning. B. Providing realistic practical opportunities for educators and students to learn independently, be useful, and keep developing. C. Increases scheduling flexibility for students by combining the best aspect of face-to-face and online instruction. Number 3, blended learning categorized. Blended learning has two main categories, namely, first, increases form of the face-to-face activities. Many educators use the term blended learning to refer to the use of information and communication technology in face-to-face activities, but inform that until the internet or as a supplement that do not change the activity. Second, hybrid learning. Learning this model reduces face-to-face activities but does not eliminate them, thus allowing students to learn online. 4. Blended learning method. By building and owning your own website, the initial step to stay implementing the blended learning method can be realized because basically the blended learning method is the first. The teaching learning process is not only face-to-face but increases learning time by utilizing cyberspace technology. The second, one way to sympathy and speed up to non-stop communication between teacher and student. 3. Assist the process of accessing the teaching material. Therefore, as a process that students begin to learn to use technology properly and for useful purpose while understanding that in addition to entertainment, technology can also enrich knowledge as well as learning material. C. Blended learning procedure. Especially Professor Steve Sleman 2005 and Sukartiwi 2005 suggested 6 stages in designing and organizing blended learning so that the results are optimal. Namely, the first, determine the types and materials of teaching materials. Second, set the design of the blended learning used. The third, set the format of online learning. The fourth, set the design created. 5. Organize blended learning properly, teaching staff who are expert in the field. 6. Prepare criteria for evaluating the implementation of blended learning. D. Range and weakness of blended learning. The advantages of blended learning. The first, learning occurs independently and conventionally. Both of them have advantages that can complement each other's. Second, learning more effectively and efficiently. Third, increase accessibility. With the existence of blended learning, students can more easily acquire learning materials. For the weakness of blended learning, the first, the media needed is very diverse, so it is difficult to apply if the facilities and infrastructure are not supportive. Second, unequal facilities owned by students, such as computer and internet access. Third, lack of public knowledge about the use of technology. The last, unequal facilities owned by students, such as computer and internet access.
And for the next material, I will explain about blended learning, builds, and creative tasks. Blended learning requires educators to master how to teach as well as having educate technological capabilities. The technological capabilities in question include the ability to operate computers and software, the ability to use interactive whiteboard, the ability to manage the web, and the ability to use a mobile phone. And then the basic of a student creative task that must be had enough to operate a basic level computer, A learning process is also dominated by learning in the classroom. And then classroom learning is carried out by including a variety of simple experiments of demonstration, simple physics tools to understand science concept. And then while middle level students are required to be able to operate computers and have the ability to manage the web and mobile phone. And for the next material about prospective educator strategies and anticipate learning needs. And this is here are some strategies our prospective educators can take anticipate the demands of learning in the future. The first one is deepening understanding of subject that will become the profession of educator later. And the second one is about study and understand and be sensitive to learning needs according to the demands of the times. And the third one is about learn to master a foreign language, especially English. And the fourth one is about learning to operate a computer. And the fifth one is about learning to manage software and the web. And the last one is about study and understand face-to-face and non-face-to-face learning models such as online learning and mobile learning. And the last one, I will explain about blended learning models. And there are two blended learning models approach daily practice by various institutions. And the second model place more emphasis on reducing learning time in the classroom with activities outside the classroom such as online and other interactive activities. And without having V2V, this approach can be seen in the core and spoke model. In this model, the designer will create a fundamental training approach and usually on-site classroom or web-based courseware. And then in this model, a variety of exercise of various references are prepared in a multimedia manner, even though step by step. And then detail is not arranged as in program flow model. And that's all from our presentation. Sorry for the mistake. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.